reason why estate planning is really important in later years is because you don't want to get caught having to go through probate, your family going through probate. I can't tell you how many times I've had younger people come in and their mom and dad passed away and none of the accounts were titled properly. It was just in mom's name, right? Didn't have a trust, didn't have a will, unexpected death, right? And it's a nightmare. They got to get an attorney, super expensive, holds up. They can't get their inheritance for sometimes years. It's all easily avoided. So one of the main things we focus on with our clients, in addition, part of financial planning is estate planning, is making sure all the accounts are properly titled, that we go through and understand what the client's living trust says if they have one. There's things that are called beneficiary deeds. You can have a home in a beneficiary deed. You can have transfer on death on different accounts like bank accounts, savings, checking, joint ownership on accounts. All these things can help avoid probate. So in having a will, many times people think having a will can avoid probate. Having a will, you still have probate. Having a will isn't enough. So this is just some of the things that I can tell you that need to be addressed in retirement. The core elements of a good strategic estate plan is thinking ahead and knowing who in your family that you can trust or rely upon. Things you got to think about. All right, if you got 4 kids, who's the one who's got the best head on their shoulders? Who can I trust that the other kids can trust as well, so there's not any fighting? You need to think about things like who's going to be your power of attorney, who's your healthcare power of attorney, who's your successor power of attorney, because most people have their spouse. What happens if your spouse passes away? Who's that next person? So those are the kind of things you guys need to be thinking about when you're thinking about having a good estate plan. And I'm not an attorney, but I certainly deal with it a lot in my profession. For most people, the tax situation when it comes to estate planning isn't what it used to be, right? Back when I started in my profession, $600,000 was, if you died with over $600,000, oh my gosh, you're gonna have estate taxes. And estate taxes can be pretty brutal. You know, Uncle Sam could take over half of the money over $600,000. If it was IRA money, it's even more, right? So it can be pretty brutal. Now we're up into the over $11 million you can die with, and you can double it if you're a married couple to $22 million. So very few people, in fact, in my career, I haven't had to deal with anybody who had to deal with that. Unfortunately for me, but you know what? There are laws that you can create trust. There's things you can create that are bypass trust to be able to avoid estate taxes. And the very wealthy people use things like irrevocable life insurance trusts. So you start getting into specialized planning for that. So when it comes to having a trust as part of your estate planning, I've had a lot of people have feelings about these things, right? So some people will come and say, I don't want to trust, I don't want to deal with an attorney, because they think they got to go to an attorney to draft a trust. So they get pretty savvy pretty quick about how to title their property, and they have their homes with a beneficiary deed, and they have proper titling on all their accounts. So if they pass, it goes to somebody. So yeah, you can pass your assets to the next generation without having a trust. A trust can make it easier, and a trust can create control from the grave. So a lot of people for that reason will have a trust. I can tell you my experience with helping hundreds of people settle their estates. A trust is nice to have. It's a nice tool that explains and spells out everything. Retirement accounts and estate planning, definitely a hiccup, because you have a trust, and people sometimes think, I have a trust, I'm putting all my assets in a trust. Well, you can't put an IRA in a trust. An IRA has a beneficiary on it. So, and you can make a trust the beneficiary of an IRA, but even that isn't necessarily a good idea because it can cause some tax problems. So another thing to be aware of, annuities in estate planning. It's another vehicle, much like an IRA, that has a beneficiary on it. So you can have a trust, you can have an IRA, and you can have annuities, and they can all, be separate items that still are part of your estate plan. So it's very important when you work with an advisor to understand how all these different things work together and things that you shouldn't do. Charitable giving is part of an estate plan. I think in my profession, I find With the tax law changes now, with the estate tax, not the estate tax, but the standard deduction, with the standard deduction being as high as it is, $27,000, a lot of people don't get to deduct their charitable contributions anymore, right? So people are doing things like giving money to charitable accounts, big chunks at a time, to get the money out of their estate, right? But at the same time, be able to get a big tax deduction in a year they give their money to that charitable account. Then once it's in there, the money can stay invested and managed, and then they can give money each year to charities that otherwise wouldn't be deductible. But since they gave one big chunk of money to that investment account that's a charitable account, they got the deduction that year when they did that. So that's how charitable giving has changed over the years and how it affects estate planning. Well, once you give money to that charitable organization, it's no longer part of your estate. Estate planning is so crucial at this age because if you don't think about it, you don't plan, you're planning to fail, right? If you don't plan, you're planning to fail. How many times have you heard that? So estate planning really takes into account all the things we speak about. Tax planning, financial planning, wealth management. It's all part of estate planning because someday we're all gonna die, and that's a reality. So that's the ultimate plan, is to not leave a big mess when you're gone. That's estate planning.